Hello, well, I'm here again on the channel, which I'm here to talk about suicide, which I've got a lot of interest in suicide. I'm very keen to try and prevent suicide. I've done a lot myself to try and prevent suicide, and I've been through the standard routines, which the standard things which one does. First of all, if you have a great concern which you feel your life is not worth living for, then you discuss it with your partner, your friends, people you feel you can confide in. They then maybe refer you to a doctor. But doctors have got limited things they can offer. They can offer admission to hospital, psychotherapy, and medication. None of these things have been shown to make a big difference, but the responsibility seems to fall to doctors. The things that people take their lives for are often things to do with relationships, financial things, housing, and lots of other reasons. Injustice is a big factor for me, and I've been caught in the picture of injustice, which the law just does not understand suicide, and I think still treats suicide as a crime. Now, the things which the doctors will do will be they'll start you with antidepressants, perhaps. There's no evidence that they actually reduce the number of suicides, though, and they can actually make things worse, particularly for young people. Potentially we admit you to hospital. Again, hospital's not got any treatment at all. They do talking, but potentially they will only keep you in for a short while because they've got other beds, other demands on their beds, so they don't want to keep you in for very long. And although they do lots of things, so it's actually very difficult to commit suicide in hospital, lots of people actually take their lives within a few days or weeks of coming out of hospital. And overall, the number of people admitted to hospital for suicide risks and the number who are actually die within a few weeks is not changed by their admission pattern at all. So Samaritans are very nice people, and they've got a very good telephone system, and that's the standard thing which the media uses to refer people to. It's all volunteers, so it's fairly cheap to run, and the head office is largely organised around getting more volunteers and getting financing to run the centres. The centres are very nice, they're comfortable, nice tea, nice phone service. But as to whether they save lives, well, there is really no evidence to say that they do save lives. People like them because they're nice people, but there's no evidence that they save lives. In places where they've introduced crisis lines, where there haven't been any crisis lines before, there is no reduction in suicide at all. There has been no evidence of any research that's shown that Samaritans actually save lives. It's very difficult to prove it one way or the other, but there is no convincing evidence that they save lives. And then from my side, I feel that some of the reason that people get into suicidal states, a lot of it is to do with housing, employment, finance, injustice. None of these things are things which are medical, and they're all non-medical. For my part, it's been about justice and finance, and I've been at the receiving end of some injustice, some bad financial advice, and I've been convicted for asking for help at a time when I was very distressed and thought my life was in danger, as I continue to do now. And I would like to open up the debate of this, because there's not a simple solution, and people don't take their lives as a selfish thing. It's because life becomes so very, very difficult and so very, very painful, and they feel that it would actually be easier and better for everyone around them if they ended their life. So sometimes it can be a generous thing to actually relieve the burden of their existence on other people. I would be keen for people's debate on this subject. I know it's a very difficult thing to talk about, but I think it needs to be opened up. And I hope you can put some comments below about this, and perhaps look at my other video which I talk about the problem which I've got at the moment. I'm going through an appeal because I've been convicted for implied threat of suicide, which I didn't even mention suicide, and I feel the law is very, very wrong there. And the media actually publicise things, again, they took my case, and you'll see from the stories, if you want to look me up, you'll see that the media have distorted everything and they've told major untruths. But there's nothing I can easily do about it. They're very, very powerful, and they can distort people's thinking. And that was my thinking, is potentially the media could actually help with suicidal thinking if they used some of their media things to actually change people's thinking for the positive, rather than actually kicking people when they're down, which I think we all know that they distort information, they withhold some parts of information, and it can be hugely damaging.